I like that G2 have instead taken that one for themselves. Now it's very much looking like it will be that Crystal Blackfeather in the jungle, along with a weapon kestrel for Hundor. And this is, again, G2, we've seen them run this. We've seen them do exactly this duo in even just this week. They did it yesterday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So they have comfort and familiarity with these picks.
So far, the jungle matchup is being put as Rhyme versus Blackfeather, and that's something that definitely can be abused. Rhyme is stronger throughout the early game and mid game. If he manages to last hit over the Blackfeather, that's a lot of opportunities that SK could try to capitalize on to snowball G2 before they get to their late game with Kestrel.
Catherine going to be an answer here for SK. Very good into Kestrel, as we've seen numerous times Catherine be picked up to try and counteract what Kestrel's heavy damage is able to provide. You know, if you can get that Storm Guard up and eat a Glimmer Shot or two, all of a sudden you're reflecting a ton of damage back at the Kestrel and her teammates if they are close enough. So SK Gaming, now for their lane, they're going to go with the Idris. It has been a while since we've really seen this Idris prominently in the Vainglory 8, but Kavalifar was one of the players that was exceptionally skilled with this hero, especially building at weapon power.
Yeah, weapon power Idris is most likely what we're going to be seeing here, unless they decide to go for the double CP to use the range. But weapon power would play a lot better in my opinion. You're playing against two carries that are very squishy with the Kestrel and the CP Blackfeather. You can dive on them with Catherine, with Rhyme, try to get one pick and burst one hero quickly and eliminate them. Very interesting composition from SK we haven't seen in a while, but definitely can work.
And for the final pick for G2, you got to assume it's going to be either the Arden or the Grace. I feel like if it's not one of those two, then they would have been putting themselves in a very vulnerable situation. So it still would have been very vulnerable if they were going to go for the Churnwalker with the Idris there. But it is the Arden to come out, that big tank on the front lines.
Now, I want to talk about the compositions overall here. G2, it feels like they've got a very strong meta composition. Very meta. Like 3 of the very top picks in each of the roles. But does that necessarily mean they've won the draft? Because SK's draft, even though it's less meta, still feels very strong. Yeah, no, it definitely feels very strong. I don't think G2 won the draft necessarily just because they got meta picks. However, the Arden will help Kestrel and Blackfeather survive against the dive coming up from SK fairly well, especially if he places his gauntlets defensively.
Yeah, you got to figure that when the team fights happen, G2 is going to be heavily focusing on that Idris, trying to take him down. And if they focus too heavily on him and he's able to survive, especially using the ultimate and the dashes to get away, all of a sudden Rhyme is going to be built up that entire time and virtually untouched. So the target selection on the side of G2 and knowing if they're going to be able to get the kills or not is going to be very crucial. All right, it's time to get on into this final, and what a final it is. Get on Twitter, let everyone know what is going down. Hashtag Vainglory 8. It's G2 versus SK. They are fighting for their spot at the World Championship. I cannot wait to kick off this 3rd series, and I'm sure the casters can't either.
I cannot wait either, Munch, as you say. Indeed, this will be a series to go down in the ages. SK looking to secure a greater lead over G2 at the top of the standings, and I am joined by Denomine, who I'm sure is trembling in his boots with anxiety and anticipation for this final series of EU.
Yeah, looking something like that. Definitely going to be exciting to see which one of these teams is able to come out on top. Again, they are the only 2 teams in Europe that are still in the running for that world spot, and they are both very much capable of doing so. Obviously, we just saw G2 come out with a victory there, but earlier when we were watching SK, it didn't look like SK was really playing at their best earlier. And now it's Hundor with a good active camo to start this one off. Hegman down to half health.
Yeah, Hegman takes a chunk. Tyrus is regenerating with that Treant and those glimmers coming out from Hundor. He is down to half energy, so always has to be a little bit cautious. Kavalifar on the Idris, yet to take any damage of his own. But I think SK will give up the Elder Treant for now. You have the ability to jump back in, but is secured by Hundor and G2 with the first foray, the first victory in this game.
Yeah, taking a little bit of an edge here early. That's got to be what G2 is looking for. Again, they're only 4 points behind SK, so if they were able to pick up 2 and deny SK any in this final, that would put them so much closer. And then depending on the performances from both of these teams next week, either one of them could secure that world spot, as obviously only the #1 seed team will pick that one up. And then obviously we'll be looking into North America a little bit later to see if we can get a little bit more definition on who's going over there as well. So much competition in the Vainglory 8 right now across the pond. And this should be a exciting game to, exciting series to round off Europe today.
Dark Potato chases into Cavalify in the lane, but Cavalify will be fine for the time being. It's incredibly close and surprisingly close as well. I think a lot of people thought SK would kind of run away with this a few weeks ago, thinking that they were just too dominant for anyone to catch, but G2 have put on a very good performance this split, managing to consistently challenge SK. Hegman running in on towards Hundo, but not going to be able to get there with the Merciless Pursuit. Didn't get the stun off either. There's always a little bit of a bad thing when you're Catherine. You know, you want to be voting up those Captain of the Guard stacks as quickly as possible to get as tanky as you can towards the later portion of the game. Hundo runs away from that Chakram and will be fine here in the lane. Interesting to see this Idris from Cavalify. He's always got such a deep champion pool. You know, he can play basically any hero in Vainglory incredibly effectively, but Idris is not something we have really seen that much at all across the last few weeks of the Vainglory 8.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cavalifar has to be pretty careful here. He is going to be on this weapon Idris in the lane, and that commits him very far forward in a fight. And the assassins, you know, while they can exchange a lot of damage onto a hero like Kestrel, he has to be very careful about those glimmer shots and on points coming through. There's now Hegman helping up here in the lane, trying to help clean this wave up a little bit so that he can farm safely. No Iron Guard for Hegman. He has gone with the Dragon Blood contract instead, so the large minions in the lane are not going to help Cavalifar heal up other than his Book of Eulogies. Now that he has the wave pushed safely, he'll take the chance to recall and shop, get a heavy steal. He gets a 6 sins as well, and going to be looking to get the Divergent Path online soon, but not quite yet.
Always important on the Idris to get that Divergent Path as soon as possible. You want to build up that weapon power so that you can utilize that to its full efficacy later on in the game. Tyrus has hit 6, being left to get a lot of experience for himself here. If you look at it, Cavalify only just got to level 5 and Hegman only just hit level 4 as well. So Tyrus, with that Valkyrie, will be a key component of the next fight. There's the stun on towards Hundo. There's a Valkyrie as well. They get the stun on to Keanu. Chasing in, Fountain used by Keanu. Nakoa, SK, still on the chase here. Can get some damage down with those Winter Spires, but Dark Potato now joins the fray. And SK were unable to find the full fight they wanted. They did get the Fountain out though, which can be incredibly impactful. Hegman has enough gold for a Fountain of his own if he goes back, but cannot leave Cavalifar undefended in the lane.
Yeah, absolutely can't, and it's Cavalifar, you know, he is being pretty safe up here in the lane as he's farming up against Hundor. He does have the Book of Eulogies that helps him heal up, but look at the damage that Hundor is able to put out already. Hegman popping that Storm Guard, looking to get some return damage, but not going to find a whole lot. And Hundor is going to remain up here safe. Keanu Nakoa does have a Iron Guard built, as well as already has that Fountain, and Hegman needs the opportunity to shop again before he'll be able to get a Fountain of his own, and it looks like he's going to do so now as he's recalling to the base, and with 5 seconds on Keanu Nakoa's Fountain, they will be evened up and ready to go for the next fight, and Dark Potato inching closer and closer to the Shatterglass, as well as Tyrus.
Getting those Shatterglasses is just so impactful for these two junglers as well. Yet to see the level 6 for Cavalifar. Doesn't have the Shimmer Strike as of yet. We'll be wanting to use it as soon as possible. Just hits it now, and I think the thing is here, both teams seem to be very comfortable with a slower early game. I am intrigued by the Dragon Blood from Hegman. I don't really feel like they've got any efficacy of that. It really hasn't done too much for them early on here, but maybe you'll be able to utilize it a little bit more later on in the game. Usually Want that damage to come out early. Valkyrie used onto Hundor. There's a Merciless Pursuit. Does get the stun. Reflex block doesn't get rid of it. And Hundor already with the kill. They're looking for Keanu as well. This could be 2 easy kills for SK as they just catch out G2 on a rotation. The Crystal Sentry's going to join this up, but Keanu falling lower and lower, falls eventually. Hegman with the chase. It could even look for another kill. Dark Potato has to use the most offensive to get away. Crystal Sentry falls, and SK able to take a great fight in the jungle for themselves.
Yeah, they do. You know, in the earlier skirmish that we, considered G2 to win, they weren't even able to find a kill. You know, they did get a good push, but it's SK with a beautiful rotation out of Kvalifar and Hegman. They pick up 2. They clean up some jungle on their way out as well. And they are sitting at about 1,000 gold lead. You know, not major, but only 7 minutes into the game. That definitely still can go either way. And Hegman doing the smart thing. When you're up against a Kestrel, whether it's weapon or crystal power, you want to have vision exactly like that right there, knowing that Hundor going to use that active camo to try to escape. He throws the flare out, prepared, but it was a good reflex block from Hundor. So a good early purchase from Hundor, knowing the gank potential that a Catherine has.
Yeah, it's just so easy to lock you down on the Catherine. All it takes is a Merciless Pursuit, and you've got the Rhyme follow-up with the Valkyrie and with the Chill Winds. You've got Kvalifar jumping in there as well. It's so difficult to get away from that if you do get CC'd to start it off with. You've got all of the stuns coming out from the rest of SK. Keanu has a fountain building up towards a Crucible for that little bit extra protection against the Blast Tremor. Shatterglass finish it on both of the junglers now as well. It's still a very even game, even if SK were able to take that last fight a little bit better than G2. That Potato takes a bit of poke, will Rose offensive away. Hegman was looking for the stun but wasn't able to connect, and SK do have to retreat because they take some glimmers to the back, and that is exactly what a Kestrel can do. She can harass you from that range, and has a little bit of a range advantage as well. Tension Bow second for Kvalifar here after that Sorrow Blade. Something we've seen him pick up quite a lot recently is that Tension Bow for the extra damage and the extra shred that it gives you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, similarly to the Baron that we saw earlier, when Baron attacked the Catherine's shield and reflected 700 damage back at him, Hegman can have the same kind of effect against the Kestrel, who's going to look for those big damage spikes with the Glimmer shots. And reflecting that amount of damage back at the enemy team is definitely key for what the Catherine is going to be able to do to help out. I would actually expect to see him overdrive the Merciless Pursuit and the Storm Guard in this particular scenario, and that's going to probably give him the most beneficial use. Now, it will reduce some of the cooldown on the ultimate, which is kind of a little bit of a loss, but definitely, can have a huge impact by making Hundor virtually useless.
If you can take out an entire member of the enemy team, I'm pretty sure you'd be happy with that. On point does connect onto Kvalifar there. Hundor with some glimmers onto Hegman. Here comes Tyrus eventually to join the fight. The Merciless Pursuit stun onto Dark Potato. There's a block on the Blast Tremor. Good play from Keanu with that Crucible. Tyrus is in that front line though. Good double root with the Chill Winds. Hundor taking a bit of damage. The Valkyrie doesn't connect. Dark Potato does have 2 Rose offensives. There's the Gauntlet. Hegman needs to try and dodge around from this. Tries to get into the midst of the fray. Uses the Merciless Pursuit to get himself out. SK still able to hang on to this fight and to this turret for the time being, but they are getting chunked down. So Dark Potato though, those Winter Spires do a lot of damage when you've got that Shatterglass already finished.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kvalifar looking to get a lot of damage as well. If he's able to get a Chakram through Dark Potato and Hundor, even though he is the weapon power route, he'll be able to burst them down fairly easily, as both of them naturally have low health pools. I mean, yes, the recent health buff is going to help them out, as Kvalifar comes down and gets some ambient gold here with Tyra's. In fact, I think he actually took all 3 of the camps. So Tyra's getting some ambient gold with Kvalifar. But, getting the Idris online is quite important. The Rhyme, he's kind of an all-game spike. He's very sustainable in all points of the game. And so he doesn't really need the gold necessarily as much as Kvalifar does, who I'd expect to probably go into a poison ship for his next item.
Definitely like to see that poison ship. Still only 1,000 gold between these two teams as we enter the 12th minute of the game. Dark Potato is starting to get a lot of hit on this Black Feather as well. Has that Broken Myth. The engage comes out to him even with the Rose offensive. He does just about manage to get away. Another good block on the Blast Tremor, but Those chakrams doing a lot of shred onto Hundor. He's down to sub 200 HP, and SK can now look for some turret damage of their own if they push forward. Tyrus does have a huge amount of poke with those Winter Spires. Chakram and Winter Spire do a lot more damage than you might expect to engage. Not quite going to connect onto Hundor. The fountain is used by G2 and they'll regenerate a little bit, but still a little bit dangerous for them to stay around for too long. One shot, one kill onto Kavalifar isn't the end of the world for SK. Dark Potato takes a chunk. That Hegman will just back away for the time being. Both these teams so apprehensive, so tentative around how they take these engages, both with so much poke as well. Kavalifar jumps forward. Won't be able to get too much down, but Hegman is low. Does have that fountain in reserve if needed. G2, of course, used theirs just a little bit earlier on, but the Crucible's back up as well. Hegman needs to be so tentative, so cautious about how he really approaches these fights. Kavalifar jumping in with a Shroud Step will get some more damage down. Tyrus almost falls, but there's a fountain. That keeps him alive. They might walk back and lick their wounds for a moment because that was more damage than Tyrus was expecting.
Absolutely was. Blew right through that fortified health that Rhyme had. And Keanu Nakoa is going to have his fountain up in 5 seconds. So G2 feeling a little bit comfortable here to stay in lane. They will have to watch out for that Chakram coming out of Kavalifar. There it is!
It is. He jumps all the way in, but cannot quite take out Hundor, who jumped into the active camo. Even with the Shimmer Strike, Kavalifar not able to get the damage that he wanted on towards Hundor.
He forced out the fountain, though, and that's really going to be key going into the next fight. Neither team has a fountain available, but we're going to have it up 25 seconds sooner for Hegman. So if SK recognize that fountain got burned out, then they should look to aggress a fight very, very quickly here. However, Hundor is at a very potent spike in his build as well. He has the Sorrow Blade double monocle and a level 11 infusion just now popped. And it's going to be a gold mine for SK as that one shot, one kill gets burned out. And Kavalifar has gone into the Tornado Trigger instead of the Poison Shiv, so opting for more sustainable as well as burst damage through those criticals, as opposed to the shielding reduction and the sustain for himself.
Tyrus now has an Eve of Harvest for himself as well, so that's a bit of extra regeneration on him. There's an Echo on Hegman, looking for those double blast tremors. Fountain back up for G2 now as they push forward towards this turret. They are still unable really to break in too far. Active camo by Hundor to get himself away. There's the first blast tremor. I'm looking for the Echo. It's back up if he wants to use it. And can try and position for it. There it comes out, still blocked, but the stun does land. The Winter Spires onto Keanu as well. Gauntlet comes out from Keanu, gets the double stun onto Kavalifar and Hegman, and Kavalifar not in a good position. Has to jump his way away. The G2 able to come out on top of that fight, you have to feel. The double blast tremor not quite what SK wanted.
No, not at all, but they might be able to continue up here shortly. If they can clear out this wave and save their turret from Hundor, Kavalifar getting chunked out, and that's going to be G2 taking down that turret. Again, the Kestrel's so good at taking out neutral objectives, and Hundor going the heavy crit build. Again, can kind of blow his own team up if Hegman uses that Stormguard correctly, but it's not as frequent, especially when the damage is split up against onto 3 targets, that the Kestrel's going to have the Catherine will have a massive impact. So it's going to be all about Tyrus and Kavalifar trying to get onto Hundor, and Hegman just needs to negate some of that damage coming out of Kestrel.
Question is, are they going to be able to? Because Hundor is doing so much work in these fights. So with Dark Potato as well with that CP Black Feather build. He's got Shatter and the Broken Myth already finished, as we said, and building up towards that third item as well. SK just not quite as strong this week as they have been in previous weeks. They don't quite look as dominant as they have in previous weeks, and perhaps some signs of cracks, you know, little bits of their foundation crumbling underneath them is starting to show as we do get closer and closer to Worlds. It's always difficult to secure that sort of spot when you are fighting for so long to get to that #1 seed, but last couple of weeks that really define you as a team, define how strong you are. Kavalifar's been there before, of course, went to Worlds last year with Team Secret, looking to secure his second Worlds in a row.
Yeah, with maybe a little bit better performance this time around, as Europe, they are going to be Europe's single hope going into the Worlds event, because they were unable to secure a spot at the Unified Finals by winning. So obviously with Cloud9 securing that one, that's a global wild card. We could potentially see a additional European team. Possibly, it could be whoever is the runner-up of this coming up weekend.
It's always a possibility. These two teams have battled so hard against each other across the course of the weeks that it would be weird to not see both of them at Worlds, but EU only has one seed, as you're saying. You have to secure that #1 spot if you want it. This Kraken's already down to less than half. As SK push forward, there is a Bellfire finished on towards that Black Feather as well, so dealing some extra damage over time. Dark Potato, Flare comes out looking for Hundor. That's the second. They spot him in the active camo, the stun onto Keanu. The Kraken still working. Blast Tremor comes out, and Hundor and Dark Potato do lose a lot of HP, but there is a Crystal Sentry here, so SK won't want to push too far forward. Tyrus takes a chunk in return, only has the code of plates, takes an ace. Now one shot, one kill into the back as well, and does just have to retreat for the time being. It's so tense. Cuts the tension in this game with a knife. Hangs thick in the air, but G2 still willing to start up the Kraken once again. Eventually it resets, G2 realizing that perhaps not the best choice right now. SK are a man down. Atlas being finished now on Keanu as well, so he can try and slow down Cavalify if he does jump into the fray. There's an infusion on Hundor. Infusions across the board for Cavalify and Tyrus as well, but they're walking into blind zones. They don't have the scout traps. They just have flares. They're chucking out into the darkness that G2 inhabit. G2 now will take the advantage and push forward and clear out some of this vision SK have been able to establish. But SK looking for priority in the lane will push this up and try and force G2 to react to a lane push.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to see what they're able to pull out here. Obviously, G2 has the raw damage to take this Kraken down, but with Hegman here, they know what's going on. Cavalifar is rotating down. This could be an opportunity for either team to get an edge. If they can pick a kill off here, they're almost certainly going to get a Kraken. Tyrus has the Journey Boots complete, and this is where Rhyme is going to start to become incredibly aggressive now that he has 2 offensive items as well as those boots. Cavalifar has taken some damage, but Tyra's now joining up with the team. This could be a huge game-changing fight.
Hegman went in, but Hundor was able to pop the active camo just before the stun landed. Now Hegman's getting chased out by Dark Potato. He needs to be a bit careful because if he takes the damage, he's the tank for the team. Tyrus can do a little bit for himself as well. Dark Potato stunned up the block on the Blast Tremor active camo used as well as Hundor runs off towards the side. The silence, the root, the kill, and that's one member of G2 down. There's the gauntlet as well from Keanu. The Valkyrie used. Look at the damage from Hundor. He's safe off towards the side because Cavalipar's now dead. Keanu tanking up 2 members of Tyrus. Hegman jumps in, but he didn't expect the reflex block and the active camo. Tyrus with the Winter Spire cannot get onto Hundor. And Tyrus will just chase Keanu out. The Winter Spires continue to rain down, but I don't think Tyrus is going to be able to get too much more out of this fight. Ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. SK can clear out some of the vision that G2 established around the Kraken.
Yeah, they've done a good job doing so. This is a pretty slow-paced game. We've seen some big damage trade. We're 20 minutes in the game with only 3 kills. The gold is a little bit in favor of SK, but not drastically, so definitely could still be anybody's game. Dark Potato now coming back onto the fold, as well as Cavalifar going to be coming back as well. So everybody up, and we'd be looking for another team fight. Journey Boots and a Infusion picked up by Cavalifar, and he really needs to get a Metal Jacket online, though. I mean, somebody needs to get a Metal Jacket online from the side of SK. Hundor is getting closer and closer to his Bonesaw, and someone needs to survive this upfront burst so they can look for the remaining damage they need to find in a fight.
Once again, both teams are so wary about how to take the fight. Good stun onto Hundor. There's the Blast Tremor as well. Hundor might be dead before this fight even really begins. He gets taken out by Tyrus. The chase onto Keanu, Nakoa, and Dark Potato isn't too strong from the rest of SK because they've already got the first kill that they wanted. They might just turn back towards this Kraken. They can take it before Hundor is back up. That's a great advantage for them, but G2 will still try and hold on to this. Dark Potato is still that CP Black Feather. He gets chased away. The Rose Offensive used. Has a second stack in his back pocket if he needs it, but Cavalifar and Hegman are just trying to capture this Kraken. 2/3 captured, and it looks like G2 are trying to find an answer. Dark Potato stunned up. The reflex bot comes out a little bit too late, and the root from the Winter Spire. SK now only have to deal with Keanu Nakoa, who I think realizes it is all but a lost cause. The Kraken will fall to SK, and with a 1,000 gold lead, they can start to look to push in towards these turrets.
Yeah, and the game has changed very rapidly here, as now SK has an opportunity to get possibly 2 turrets down off of this push. Tyraz and Cavalifar can do a decent chunk of damage to the turrets. They obviously won't move out of those Winter Spires or those Chakrams, but they have to be careful about what G2 is able to answer back with. They did a good job staggering the death timers, so this first turret's likely going to go down before Dark Potato is even able to regroup with the team, and that's going to allow the side of SK to potentially get the second turret down as well. Hundor making short work of this Kraken's health as well as that turret explosion. I think SK, they should be able to capitalize pretty well here.
Can use the Winter Spires for the poke, of course. Cavalifar jumps in, looking for that turret. Hundor does take a chunk. Actually gets Mercer's Pursuit Suns as well. Active Camo blocked out. Gonna look for the engage. The Valkyrie onto Hundor, slows him up. Good gauntlet, but Hundor's already dead. And SK are looking for a lot more than just a couple of turrets out of this Kraken push. They're looking for the kills. They're looking for the win. The Dark Potato and Keanu with a great gauntlet are blocking them off for the time being. Cavalifar goes though, jumps away with a Shroud Step. The stun onto Dark Potato. Doesn't have a Rose Offensive for 5 more seconds, and it's up to Tyraz and Cavalifar to try and sustain. Keanu chasing Cavalifar off, gets the kill. Now it's a 2v2. The stun onto Dark Potato does have a Rose Offensive, can try and jump back through, but he gets taken out with the Scout Trap and with the roots coming out from SK. Great stuff by them. The Kraken is going to help clear up a little bit more of that second Crystal turret, but he shouldn't get the entirety of it because Keanu is here to deal with it. That will be a Crystal turret, the choke point, and a win in the team fight for SK.
So close on that last turret there. With the death timers the way they were, I'm surprised Tyraz didn't come in and just look to get that turret down and then back out. As now Hundor back on the map and Cavalifar coming up in 20 seconds, Dark Potato in 25. We definitely could see SK win one more team fight and then just obviously push right into this incredibly harmed turret. All the same, it could be turned around very quickly by G2. Hundor has 4 offensive items complete, finishing up that Bone Saw. That's going to help him get through the Metal Jacket that Cavalifar and Tyraz have built up. And then he has the Halcyon Chargers as well. And the Boots choice here is going to help him maintain a little bit more energy in the fights, as well as it's a 3-second Boots proc. So if he does need to use that item, he can get a lot of distance between himself and the enemies and, possibly regroup up with the team at that point. So we'll have to see what they're able to pull out. I'm surprised no Gauntlet here on Keanu Nakoa. I mean, I just really wish there was more utility for them to lock like Tyraz or Cavalifar down out of the fight and then focus on one or the other, and we haven't been able to see that yet.
Right, yeah, it's so difficult for G2 now because they are on the back foot. They're 3,000 gold behind. SK have broken their crystal turrets. Only 1 remains between SK and the win really here, and G2 know that they do really need to win this series to have a chance at that EU #1 spot, because if they don't, they're relying on other teams to beat SK next week and for them to take the week for them to be able to have enough points to challenge SK in the standings. And SK set up vision around the Kraken. Look at how many Scout Traps they've got. It's just all over the map. There's nothing here for G2 at all. They'll pop a flare in. SK might even want to just go in for the fight. Tyraz step forward. Realizes they don't want to fight with Crystal Sentry there as well, and actually takes a chunk of damage in response. There's the Gauntlet coming out. Hundor trying to dodge off towards the side. Good block on the Blast Tremor. Keanu dodging inside this, but the damage onto Hundor's quite substantial. He gets away, but can he escape from Cavalifar? Not today, says the big man from SK, and Keanu Nakoa is going to get chased out here as well. Rooted down next to his Crystal Sentry, tries to Vanguard across the wall. The Sentry dies. SK do need to be a little bit careful because Cavalifar is low, but they'll take the win in the team fight and probably turn their eyes towards Kraken soon as well. Dark Potato actually chasing out Hegman as Tyraz is backed all the way away here. SK being very, very defensive with their play. That eventually will be able to utilize this man advantage because there's still 30 seconds before Hundor is back up alive.
Yeah, they definitely can, and because Dark Potato did not recall here, he's now very hurt as a healthy Tyraz is coming in. Should be able to get the root up. Oh, a beautiful block out of Dark Potato there. And now SK looking at, they can pretty much force a fight here with how healthy Tyras is. And obviously Cavalifar able to jump around the fight as well. Should be pretty reasonable for him to avoid the damage coming out of Dark Potato. We do see the, and new item, drawing a blank here, the Spellfire.
Yeah, Spellfire.
Come out on Dark Potato. And I'm not sure I'm in love with that item pick here on the side of G2, but Catherine gonna go ahead and secure that Kraken, and now G2 in a bad spot. Medic, this might be the end of this one.
Yeah, Keanu called out, Dark Potato there as well. SK are actually still quite low, and if Hundor can get some crits off here, they can turn it around good. Gauntlet's going to stun up Cavalifar. Here comes Hundor in. There's the Valkyrie, but it's stunned up once again. Look at the damage coming out from G2. They might be able to clean up the ace, and if they do, they can still survive in this game. Cavalifar manages to get a kill, but he goes down as well. It's an ace for G2. Can they hold the Kraken away from the base? You have to think they can with Hundor and with Keanu Nakoa. So this game goes on. We're going to have another 30-minute classic here to nominate.
We're going the full 40 yards here. Going for that 40-minute game, and yeah, that's what we're aiming for, right?
Yeah, 100%. We had a 28-minute game, then we had a 32-minute game. We need the 40-minute game to totally close it out. The second crystal turret does fall. The Kraken is not going to get the crystal here. So technically, in terms of gold, it goes in favor of G2, but SK won't be too worried because they did get that second crystal turret down, which always gives you the opportunity to just run into this base and take down that crystal.
That absolutely does, and they don't have to win an entire fight. If they can kill Hundor, there's not enough damage that comes out of Dark Potato to really follow in a fight. And it was SK going a little bit too far out after that Kraken take. They should have swung a little bit back, regrouped up as a team, topped their health off before they went back in. I mean, even the Fountain had just barely came up at the last bit of that fight. It extended it a little bit, but definitely not to a comfortable lead position where they were able to find a kill onto Hundor. And for the first time, we saw a gauntlet that actually had a really big effect. It stunned Cavalifar on his way out, as well as stunned Cavalifar on his way back in. That bought Hundor a lot of time to get some damage down, and that's where they were able to clean up the kill from there.
Broken Myth finished onto Tyras now as well. Basically, everyone is a completed item builds. Only the Rome's sitting on an item less than everyone else because of those flares. Even Keanu has actually decided he doesn't need extra flares, just uses the contraption. Has the War Treads, the Echo, the Atlas Pauldron, the Fountain, and the Crucible. So now with that Echo can get those double gauntlets off in fights. I really want to see those gauntlets come out because he has been so good at hitting those stuns, especially onto Cavalifar. The stun onto Hondo, the jump in. There's the Crucible coming out, blocks the Blast Tremor. Here's the first gauntlet. Look at Cavalifar, he's solo, he's already dead. G2 going to win out this fight. You have to think double gauntlet is in a superb position. Ty was trying to chase it away, but he's just not doing enough damage. Gets taken out, and G2 with a 2-for-1, delaying the game even more. They still got 3 turrets to push through. Don't think this is going to be the end, but G2 now able to win fights really late on in this game.
Yeah, the Bonesaw on Hundor doing a lot of work, and now it might be G2 just looking to come up here and push in a turret and try to get a little bit more gold into their pockets. They have even the gold up, but if they can get the choke point down, that would set them up for an incredibly strong push. Hundor is going to recall and pick up a infusion and top off his health, which is a little bit questionable to me, as he... Obviously, we have such long death timers on Tyras and Cavalifar. I think they easily could have taken that choke point and then went ahead and regrouped, but instead, they're going to go ahead, top their health up, going to go for this Kraken, and unless if Hegman can get in here and make a God Steal, then this is going to be one going over to G2, and just like that, the tides have turned. It's an exposed Vein Crystal on the side of G2, but the Kraken only has 3 turrets to go through, and with a 4-item Crystal Blackfeather and a 4-item Kestrel, they should be able to make short work of those objectives. So SK, they have to win the fight here and then base race.
Looking for it. That Kraken is pushing in. The SK don't have the best clear on the Kraken. Hegman in that front line has the Blast Tremor. Echo's back up for him as well. Everything's available basically for both teams. All ultimates, all abilities, all items. This is going to be the fight to end all fights. We said it was going to go 30 minutes. It's already past that mark. SK looking for the engage. There's the block on the Blast Tremor Blast. Dark Potato in that backline. The jump in from Cavalifar. Hundor trying to get his way away. Does get the active camo down. Fountain's being used. The gauntlet. Tyra's second gauntlet comes out. Keanu in that front line has been slowed up by Cavalifar. He's going to jump away, and SK able to push G2 back from the base. This Kraken will get the first turret, but SK might at least be able to take it down before it gets too much more.
Yeah, crazy fight there. Hundor dropped dangerously low. Tyra's dropped dangerously low as well. And then obviously able to get the fountain coming out of Hegman, as well as building up the fortified health on Kiana Nakoa is going to get him out safely to turn their attention onto the Kraken. And SK still have a 2-turret lead here, but it's been largely G2 taking the past couple of fights. And it's pretty interesting actually to see the Spellfire come out on this Blackfeather. It does provide a bit of damage when you're constantly able to keep the poke up. So it's 100% of your crystal power is bonus damage over 4 seconds. The item itself has 90. So with the Shatter Glass and the Broken Myth, and then even the little bit of crystal power that comes out of the Aftershock.
He's at 355 crystal power. That's pretty substantial.
Right, over 4 seconds, and then if you're able to, get another on point down, it's going to keep taking on that damage, and those are the kind of fights that G2 are looking for.
Poke onto Cavalifar. There's the tick, as you can see. He loses some health. Tyra's as well. Hey, one poke is a fifth of their HP. It's a substantial amount. Can manage to get it. Hegman runs in, does get the stun on towards Hundor, but SK is so far behind that they cannot do much, and Hegman's going to take half of his HP for going in there. He's down to 50% health. B2 continues to push forward. Hegman may be caught out here because Dark Potato can just jump upon him. The rest of SK are not on the same page as Hegman at the moment, who keeps going in for these stuns and not realizing that SK are just clearing out the way.
Yeah, very close game between these two teams. We're approaching the 33-minute mark. And, we're at a point in the game where one fight for either of these teams very well could end the game. Everybody is full build at this point, and everybody is infused with the exception of Kiana Nakoa, who will likely look to infuse here pretty quickly. I think I'm lagging really bad, or Hundor and Hegman are walking on top of each other without seeing each other. There we go. Okay,
you're fine. We're back to the action. SK and G2 just fighting off in the lane here. There comes the block out a little bit early. Hegman looking for the blast hammer. There it comes, but that's a great gauntlet catching Hegman out once again. The rest of SK are just going for the base though. Cavalifar doesn't care. Going all the way in. That Catherine is going to get killed. And actually, we do see Hundor getting back in time as well. SK want the crystal. They want the win. They want the backdoor. They want to just take it out of the park here. The gauntlet comes out. That's blocked, and that's the crystal going down. It's SK managed to close out a 34-minute game with a backdoor on the Vein Crystal. That's what it takes to be champions of Europe.
Yeah, that was a really good shot call coming out of SK there. Hegman did a good job of distracting Dark Potato, and Kiana Nakoa prevented those recalls for quite some time. And then obviously Cavalifar and Tyra's get in there, literally use everything to take the Vein Crystal down.